Here is a pretty remarkable fact, and it's to do with the modern workplace. Two stories have piqued my interest. Firstly, reading that thousands of dollars in travel and residential allowances, a baby bonus, referral awards, luxury camps with golf courses and six-figure salaries are among the perks that some mining workers are being offered in Australia. 133693. I mean, have you had a perk that can match any of that? After 2 years, you get a watch. You officially get a watch. It's remarkable. And in The Age, there's an article there just talking about the revolution that's going on in the office space. And you can understand why. It's all about luring people back to the office for 5 days rather than 3. And in the spirit of that, we're seeing prayer rooms, meditation rooms, focus zones, gymnasiums or gymnasia, if you're pedantic. So 133693, what is the best work perk you've ever experienced? Throughout your employment history, has there just been one that rises above all others as just a remarkable perk that made working at the particular job you're at that much more enjoyable? And if you were to design an office for yourself, what is the one thing it needs? Maybe you've had that one thing in an office. Maybe it was a prayer room or a focus zone. At 3AW, we were spoilt, really, and it was just great that management took the hint and finally installed that deep fat fryer. It didn't last long, though. We'd put too many non-food items in it after Friday night booze-ups, which don't happen anymore, I can assure you. But no, we had a deep fryer and then we didn't. We had a pie warmer, that's still there, and we've got a coffee machine. So they're my nominations for workplace perks. 133693, have you had the great workplace perk? 133693. And what does an office need in your experience? What is the one thing it needs? Does it need a ping pong table? That's another perk we have here at the radio station. We do have a ping pong table. Somebody who has given this much thought joins me now, Sue Ellson, career expert. Good afternoon, Sue.
Hi, Tony.
How do you reckon you and I would go at a game of ping pong here at 3AW? How's your form?
Well, it's not great, but I think it would be terrible for the sound,
Yes.
If you're trying to have a radio program next to a ping pong table, that could be a challenge.
Well, that was mentioned in the Age article, that it can be a disturbance. How do you get the balance right if you're an employer?
Well, you really need to ask the employees because they're the ones who are turning up on a regular basis, and look at the spread of employees that you've got. So one of the employers I work with, they had a number of young people come into the organisation along with a lot of their experienced staff, and they just found that the young people couldn't pick up all the new skills unless they were in the office at least 2 days a week to learn off of those other employees. So I think it's really going to be very much dependent on the organisation, but I also know another person who's happy to commute for an hour and a quarter every day from the far southeastern suburbs because they like the culture of the organisation. So if you get it right, people will come. All
right. Then what is the mining industry not getting right? If it's throwing all these baubles at its employees, does that maybe signal that times aren't happy in that industry, or employees are playing hard to get?
Well, it could be a little bit of both. I mean, the mining industry does have some negative reputation. I remember going to an event some years ago when they said they brought in a lot more women truck drivers because they found that they didn't bash the trucks going around the mining site as much as the blokes did. Not being disrespectful in any respect there, but also some people, long periods away from home, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at them, they're not interested. I thought one of the interesting perks they're offering is that baby bonus. If you've got young children, it can be easier to live in a remote location, but once they get over the age of 10, luring those workers to stay in that environment, could be really tricky for family reasons, and that could be more challenging. But the other thing that can make a significant difference is whether or not the company puts down not only the salary, but all the other perks in the advertisement. Because a lot of people think, look, if I just throw that big salary in, then we'll tell them about all the other perks when they get through the interview process. But I would argue it would be much better if you put all the perks and all the details in there so that people can make an informed decision and consider applying in the first place.
133693, what's the best work perk you have ever had, or maybe you're currently enjoying one? 133693. And what does every office need? Perks, they have to. I'm just wondering how you would counsel a business on this. So it's a bit like playing favourite as a parent, isn't it? If you need more engineers, then you're going to lavish them with perks, but that means the people doing payroll are missing out.
Well, I guess you need to look at the whole workplace. And one of the people I work with, they have team days where they go out and they do a group activity together, and the whole office leaves the building. And we've done various things, including painting activities and meals together and, all sorts of things, but on the company time. And I think that gives people a bit of an extra incentive. Another employer, they put on a working lunch and they provide the sandwiches. And, they was very exotic sandwiches, I have to say. But then the people got even more fussy and said, we want a carb-free option. So I think people are getting a little bit precious with, some of the benefits. And like you, I enjoyed many drinks on a Friday night after work back in the early part of my career, not drinking alcohol, but really enjoyed that social time with my colleagues. And it was really nice to make time for those opportunities, because there's a lot of conversations we don't have. And if people don't know a little bit about us in, our life outside of work, it's a bit harder to engage on the daily basis as well.
That is a great point. I did my first trivia night with the sales team last Thursday, and we had a lot of fun. So it's a good thing to do. In your experience and being very close to the pulse of employers and employees, and by the way, I'm speaking to Sue Ellson, a career expert. You probably saw the article in The Age, and with buildings being reconfigured, employers going to employees and saying, what do you want? Do you think it's likely to lure people back to the 5-day office experience if they have things like prayer rooms or all the other things that are being factored into the new office workspace?
Look, I think a lot of those things are going to be highly beneficial, because obviously, if you need a quiet space to work, then that little opportunity to get away from the rest and focus on a task is going to be really, really helpful. But I don't think it's the answer to everything. I think you've still got to look at how each individual person works. And so, for instance, another little statistic that's been found is if you spend $1 on mental health programs, you get a $4 return on that investment. So there could be something that's quite obscure. And I remember going into a workplace fairly recently, and all the desks were there, but nobody was in them. And so you feel it's a bit of a ghost town when you go in. So if you've allocated, let's say your workplace says 2 days a week, we do prefer it if everybody is in the office on those 2 days, then you're going to get that group experience together and not feel like you're coming in quiet. But then there's another employee that comes into the office because they know if they stay at home, they'll get distracted and they're actually more focused in the workplace. So, it's horses for courses, really. You can't sort of give some broad brushstrokes. But even things like pet-friendly options of helping people manage their pets and pet insurance. I mean, all sorts of weird little perks are coming up nowadays that we would never have considered in a million years 20 years ago.
If my employer is listening, can I just say an embarrassingly large pay rise would be great for my mental health. I'm no psychiatrist, but...
I'm sure you could find some fun things to do with that. I absolutely agree. And believe it or not, 25% of people will not apply for a job if there's no salary listed. So you could be missing on the best candidates simply because you don't promote that high pay rise. And now that the Workplace Gender Equality Agency is measuring the pay gap and all that sort of thing, it's becoming more transparent. And there was some rumblings about forcing employers to list the salary on every job ad. I can tell you plenty of candidates would love to see that happen.
That and the listing of a deep fryer in the communal kitchen would go a long way. Sue Ellson, career expert, thank you for your time as always.
Thanks, Tony.